The movie begins with a couple, Nora and Alec, driving from Los Angeles to the countryside for a vacation. However, on their way to the destination, they get lost. They stop at a rest stop to seek help, but no one is inside. Nora can't even find a restroom. Instead, she finds someone else's cell phone and wallet. Despite this being a strange discovery, she relieves herself in public. What she doesn't know is, there's a bloody human skull nearby. Then, Nora returns to the car, casually talking about the items she found at the rest stop. However, Alec doesn't seem to be too worried, because he's more concerned about the car running out of fuel. Along the way, the couple encounters a lady whose car has stopped. Alec takes the initiative to offer help to start her car, and gets to work right away. Meanwhile, the two ladies start to chat, and the lady asks Nora if she's married to Alec. This statement makes Nora very uncomfortable, and she firmly states that it's none of her business. Unfortunately, the woman is offended, and begins to criticize the couple. She even calls them irresponsible and foolish.
It's people like you that think they can have everything and not take responsibility for anything.
At the same time, despite Alec's sincere efforts, he still can't fix the car. This further infuriates the lady, who insults Alec, calling him a terrible boyfriend. The couple, feeling angry about being punished for no reason, get into the car and drive off, leaving the woman behind. While driving, Nora expresses her disdain for the countryside, and cites the encounter with the old woman as one of the reasons.
This is why I avoid the country.
After a while, they find a crowded restaurant and stop to have a meal. The waitress tells them the menu, and then they order non-vegetarian burgers and drinks. However, as they try, they find the taste is strange. Alec notices a man staring at Nora in a weird way. This makes him uncomfortable, and he insists on leaving. Nora agrees, and they prepare to leave the restaurant without finishing their meal. However, on their way out, the man suddenly blocks them, and warns Nora that she is not safe in this village.
You're not safe here.
In the next scene, Alec seems really worried about what the man had said earlier, but Nora thinks he is just a local weirdo. After a while, they stop at a gas station, and Alec fills up the car. He also asks a cashier named Andrew about local accommodation options, who directs them to some rentals down the road.
Yeah, there's some cabins down the road. Maybe 20 minutes, you can't miss it.
Continuing their journey, they come across a rundown cabin. At first, Nora is uneasy about this shabby place, but due to lack of options, they decide to enter. As they climb the stairs together, they get startled by the appearance of the landlord, whose face is distorted. He greets them warmly, asking if they need a room. When Alec confirms that they are looking for a place to stay, the landlord takes them to a nearby cabin, revealing that it used to be rented by Boy Scouts and campers. After he leaves, anxious Nora confides in Alec, expressing her suspicions about the landlord.
Shut up, it's fine, he's weird, okay?
However, he calms her down, assuring her that everything is fine. As the two converse, the camera pans to the top of the adjacent bunk bed, where there seems to be blood. At night, someone spots a person wearing a sheep mask hiding under the couple's bed. He slowly crawls out from under the bed, threateningly looming over them. The next morning, Nora wakes up to find herself locked in a dog cage. The horrifying sight nearly gives her a heart attack. She tries to free herself while calling for Alec, but she can't find him.
Alec!
Then, a man wearing a goat mask appears, banging on her cage, indicating she should stay quiet. Out of fear, Nora complies, but once the masked man leaves, she attempts to escape. She notices a rock outside the cage, and manages to grab it through the bars. Then, she tries to use it to break the cage lock, but just at that moment, the man with the goat mask returns with another man wearing a cow mask. The latter approaches her slowly, calming her down. Later, Nora regains consciousness in the barn, tied to a chair, her legs forced apart. Then, a rabbit man appears, artificially inseminating her with a large tool similar to a syringe, causing her to scream in pain. Next, Nora is locked in a cage, and taken somewhere by the previous two men. On the way, she notices other masked people in the barn doing everyday chores. She also sees a man chopping up a male. Clearly, in this farm, they are producing flesh. After a while, the two men eventually bring Nora to the barn. Then, the scene switches to a room, where Alec and other men are locked in cages. When he regains consciousness, he finds his mouth tightly stuffed and its clothes removed. Alec tries to communicate with the others in the barn, but fails. Then, a group of villagers appears. They get the captives on their heads one by one, knocking them out. Soon, the villagers turn to Alec, a terrifying sight. He tries to run, but the villains eventually knock him down. Following this, unconscious Alec is loaded onto a wheelbarrow and taken to the slaughterhouse for further processing. The scene reveals that the compound is actually a public farm, run by individuals wearing animal masks. They capture men and slaughter them for meat, while women are bred for milk. The harvested meat is then used to cater for weddings and various ceremonies. Shockingly, it is revealed that the landlord from earlier is the leader of this disturbing organization. In the next scene, the landlord receives a large order requiring a lot of meat. However, a worker tells him that they don't have enough men to meet the demand. With no other options, the landlord decides to use one of the women, who has been restricted to produce milk. Then he goes to the dairy, where there are many cages housing nursing women. The landlord evaluates their milk production, selecting the woman with the lowest yield for slaughter. During the inspection, he notices a woman secretly nursing her baby. This angers the landlord, as he has been struggling to meet the business demands for milk and meat. On his order, a worker grabs her, brutally smashing it to the ground, killing it on the spot. After the two ruthless men leave, the woman is heartbroken, crying. It is revealed that Andrew from the earlier part of the movie works for the landlord. His job is to lure tourists into the cabin. However, Andrew is mentally disabled, and he communicates with the grief-stricken lady in a condescending manner.
Hey, little guy, what's up?
This infuriates her. She says he's sick.
You're sick, you fucking...
In turn, Andrew also gets angry, calling her a bad person.
You're all bad!
Later, when a worker comes to the dairy to investigate, he finds that the woman is already dead. Clearly, Andrew killed the woman and fled from there. When the landlord learns of this, he angrily orders his subordinates to find Andrew. In the barn, Nora discovers another captive in the stable next to her. This woman is connected to a milking machine, constantly milking. When Nora asks what's happening on the farm, the woman says, "It's better you don't know because there's no way to escape." She then reveals that she has been kept on the farm for breeding for the past 2 years. She has been bred repeatedly until she can no longer get pregnant.
They treat us like milk cows.
As the two continue to chat, we hear the cries of another woman named Ashley, who has also been imprisoned for 3 years. Nora tries to offer her support, assuring her they will find a way to escape. However, Ashley claims that escaping from this place is impossible because the masked men always manage to find them.
Find us, they always do.
In the slaughterhouse, a masked man catches Andrew playing with a pair of heads. The lunatic argues that he shouldn't be blamed, but he's forcibly taken away. The landlord then berates Andrew for neglecting his duties, explicitly instructing him not to play with his food. In this context, he refers to humans as food. After this, Andrew is assigned to a masked supervisor to provide food for the imprisoned people. However, while performing this task, Andrew accidentally knocks over the food can, spilling its contents. Fearing punishment, he runs away, with the masked workers chasing after him. They end up entering a greenhouse, but Andrew grabs a bunch of basil and continues to run. He rushes to the landlord in the kitchen, presenting the basil as an offering. Strangely, the landlord accepts the gift and pardons Andrew. When the worker who has been chasing Andrew arrives, he receives an order from the landlord to process the inefficient women who can't produce milk. Then the scene switches to the barn, where Nora watches as this woman is processed like meat. After the butchers leave, she breaks down in despair. However, she is soon interrupted by a noise at the door. To her surprise, Alec is still alive, conscious. Nora is panting with excitement, and after some struggle, they finally escape the stable. However, the danger is not over, as they still have to cross the property while avoiding the masked men. Nora assists Alec in escaping by truck, but the truck fails to start at a critical moment, forcing them to continue on foot. Finally, they come across a church, where they take a break. As the couple looks around, they notice that the faces of Jesus and his followers have been replaced with animal masks. Just then, a man wearing a cow mask walks into the church. He begins to pray, and the couple sees this as an excellent opportunity to escape. Unfortunately, they are caught, and the cowboy rings a bell, alerting the other workers on the farm. While running, Alec gets trapped in a bear trap, and Nora tries to free him. However, when she sees the masked workers approaching, Alec tells her to run. Nora doesn't want to leave her love behind, but she has no choice. As she reluctantly flees, the workers catch up with Alec and smash his head with a rock. Meanwhile, Nora takes refuge in the male barn. There, one of the male captives notices her presence and silently signals her to leave for her own safety. Nora quickly approaches his cage, asking him to help her escape from this dismal farm. The man hesitantly tells her that the workers transport victims in a bus. He also tells her where the workers keep the keys. Armed with this information, Nora goes to a spacious area where many cars are parked. There, she finds a driver with a mask on. Luckily, he is facing away from her. Seizing this opportunity, Nora strikes his head with a hammer, knocking him down. Just then, 3 masked men spot Nora and start running towards her. But she gets in the car and drives through the fence. Unfortunately, she quickly runs out of gas and is forced to get out of the car. Then, she is chased across the estate, and, with no other choice, Nora ends up back at the stables. There, she frees Ashley and helps her outside. Then they head towards the bus, but they find that the keys are missing. Though disappointed, Nora remembers what the man in the cage said earlier, so she goes to the designated house to retrieve the keys. She manages to find them, and then returns to the bus. For some reason, Ashley seems very worried, and when Nora starts the bus, she realizes all the seats are occupied by masked men, which terrifies her. As the movie ends, the masked workers gather around a table, with Nora and Ashley eating apples like roasted pigs.